The Dambulla Cave Temple is a site held sacred by Buddhists and is situated 148 kilometers to the northeast from the capital city Colombo, within the cultural triangle of Sri Lanka. It was declared a World Heritage Site in 1991 in consideration of its unsurpassing and centuries-old religious, artistic and architectural contribution to world culture. Being one of the most impressive and largest cave temples in South and Southeast Asia, it has gained a reputation for being amongst the best preserved of its kind in the whole of Asia. This monastery is located under an overhanging colossal rock boulder that towers around 120 meters over the surrounding plain. It is one of the most prominent cave temples built in the early Anuradhapura era. According to traditional belief, the name Dambulla derives from Dambulla, or spring of the rock, and later a combination of the two formed the word Dambulla. The legend accompanies us to the famous spring with never-ending drips of water oozing out of a crack in the ceiling of the massive rock under the shrine. Later, during the 11th century or in the Polonnaruwa era, this monastery was known as Dambulla. Opinions differ on what name it might have been referred by. Some, using the reference in the Mahavamsa, the Chatapabbata, could have been the previous name for this site. Other opinions suggest that this could be the Jambukola Vihara or Achagalla Vihara referred to in the historical chronicle. Archaeological evidence and folklore suggest that the Dambulla Vihara carries its history to the pre-Christian era. 73 caves with inscriptions belonging to its early period are found in this vast monastic complex. Researchers have confirmed that this place was home to prehistoric humans around 6,000 years ago. Dating to the 1st century BC, the area surrounding Dambulla Rock has been a prosperous human habitation. Excavations done at the stone graves found in Ibbankatwa in the vicinity of Dambulla have unearthed clay pots of varying sizes and metalware and beads that belong in pre-Christian times. The results of these excavations provide evidence of an agriculture-based civilization here in the early period of the Iron Age. There are also ruins of a cemetery and abodes of the affluent people of the time who had donated the caves to the temple and also improved its numerous facilities. The Brahmi writings or inscriptions on caves at the Dambulla temple indicate the existence of 28 such donations of caves. These inscriptions do make mention of two kings who reigned in pre-Christian times, King Gaminitissa II and King Gamini Abahe. According to the renowned archaeologist, the late Professor Senarat Paranivithana, the former could have been King Saddhatissa, who reigned between 137 and 119 BCE, and the latter King Walagamba, who reigned between 89 and 77 BC. The ancient document of the Dambulla temple, especially the Dambulla Tudapata or the royal grant, states that these caves are the creation of King Walagamba. Legend also has it that once King Walagamba finished his tasks of construction of this rock temple, his queen consort Somawati, upon visiting Dambulla temple, was so impressed she had offered all her jewelry to the monastery. This jewelry is supposed to be enshrined inside the Somawati stupa that has been built at the base of the Dambulla rock. The excavations of the stupa have unearthed bricks with Brahmi characters upon them, indicating its history dating to the period before Christ. The cave inscriptions of the monastery also include Brahmi writings, probably belonging to the early period of the Christian era. This substantiates the fact that cave donations had taken place as late as in the 1st and 2nd centuries as well. The period between the 1st and 4th centuries, it is recorded a flight of steps had been constructed and offered to the temple by the devotees. The construction of the Somavati Stupa and the monastic complex at the foot of the Dambulla rock had taken place between the 5th and 7th centuries. The bricks with Brahmi characters inscribed on them have been found at excavations conducted on this complex and bear evidence of the fact that the site had originally been made in the period before Christ. Similar contemporary monastic complexes named Pabbata Vihara are located at nearby Pidurangala, Kaludiya Pokuna and Manikdena. A common feature of all of these, including the Somavati Stupa, is that they had been subject to renovations during the 9th and 10th centuries. Later, in the 11th and 12th centuries, Dambulla Vihara again had experienced some improvements brought in, focusing a special attention on the main cave complex during the reign of King Vijayabahu I, who had his capital in the kingdom at Polonnaruwa. King Nisankamalla, who reigned in Polonnaruwa between 1187 and 1196 AD, had brought about a major transformation of the temple by gilding the statues in the caves, thereby giving it the name Golden Rock Temple of Dambulla or Rangiri Dambulla. He had spelt out his work in a rock inscription at the monastery, as well as his other inscriptions including Galpota and the Pritidana Mandapa in Polonnaruwa. There still remain several gilded statues in the 1st and 2nd caves. The authors of the Mahavansa had made no extensive description of these renovations. However, several rock inscriptions and Nilagama Tuddapatha and the Dambulla Vihara Tuddapatha give ample information on Dambulla temple that substantiate what is recorded in the inscriptions at the Dambulla cave complex. Both documents refer to the statue of the king himself, constructed in the cave. Contemporary literary sources indicate that kings who reigned in Gampala and Kandy in the period between the 14th and 18th centuries had eagerly supported the Dambulla cave monastery by way of renovations, the construction of new shrines, and the offer of land grants made for the maintenance of the temple in order to carry out religious observances. One of them, Devaraja Vihara, has on its roof an incomplete but an epigraphically significant inscription that mentions the name of King Sri Veera Parakrama Narendra Singha, the last king of the Sinhala dynasty, who reigned between 1707 and 1739. Thereafter, during the reign of Kirti Sri Raja Singha, 1747 to 1782, brought about noteworthy improvements to the Dambulla cave monastery. Among his contributions are the improvements brought to the statues and paintings in the Devaraja Vihara, Maharaja Vihara and Paspilima Vihara, as well as the construction of a new vihara in a hitherto unused cave, named Maha Alutvihare or Great New Monastery. It has a statue of King Kirtisri Rajasingha as well. Balavaggala Bodhinarayana Buenakabahu, a descendant of the famous Nilagama family of artists, had carried out the decorations and paintings of this temple. In recognition of his services, this skilled artist was endowed with a royal grant of land and invaluable treasures. Some of those treasures he had received are displayed today and may be seen at the Buddhist Museum in Dambulla. Kings Rajadi Rajasingha and Sri Vikrama Rajasingha both had supported the improvements on the Dambulla cave monastery. An additional fifth vihara, the Devana Alutvihare or second new monastery, had been constructed by Dullave Maha-Adhika. In 1915, the Korale of Ahalapala Udavalawa in Tolambugolla had carried out renovations on this vihara. This centuries-old historic monastery, the Dambulla Cave Temple, had made yet another indelible mark in recent history when it lent its support for the freedom struggle carried out by the Sinhalese in 1848. On the 26th of July the same year, Gongalegoda Banda was crowned king by the chief incumbent of Dambulla, the Venerable Girani Gamathera, in an attempt to revive the Sinhala monarchy. However, leaders of this freedom struggle, as well as the Buddhist monks who supported them, were later arrested and imprisoned by the British imperialist rulers. The Dambulla Cave Temple, which is renowned the world over, comprises 5 cave temples located close to each other. The murals, a living example of the skills of the Nilagama family of artists, cover an area of around 2,000 square meters. According to information obtained from the descendants of this family, natural local ingredients had been used to make the paints for the murals. They include gokatu, or what is botanically known as Garcinia goralla for yellow, cinnabar for red, nil avaria or Indigofera tinctoria for blue, pipe clay for white, and birdlime and resin for black. The resin of the wood apple tree had been used to mix colors. It houses 161 statues of different figures in various postures resembling a mixture of religious and secular sculptures. The first of these cave temples is known as Devaraja Vihare or Cave of the Divine Kings. The narrow strip of its floor mainly occupies a 12-meter long statue of the Enlightened One in the Parinibbana posture. Folklore has it that it had been hewn out of the rock by Vishvakarma, the deity of craftsmen, at the request of the king of the gods, Shakra Devendra. Although the origins of this cave temple date back to the time of King Walagamba, that is considered a period in which the building of Buddha statues were unheard of. However, the style of the statue of the Enlightened One in the Parinibbana pose is supposed to have been completed in the latter part of the Anuradhapura period. At the foot of this statue is a sculpture popularly thought to be of the standing Anandathera, the chief disciple of the Buddha. However, this statue, with the right hand holding onto a part of the robe and the left hand in the Katakahasta Mudra, is supporting the view that this is a statue of the Buddha himself, in a rare posture. This cave temple has 4 more Buddha statues in a sitting posture. One corner of the cave presently covered has a statue considered to be of god Upulvan. However, with one hand in Katakahasta Mudra and the depiction of a Bodhisattva statue of Amitabha in a contemplative position on the tiara supports the view that this is a statue of Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. The ceiling and the walls of this cave are decorated with murals of the Kandyan style. They include images of Arahants, deities Vishvakarma and Upulvan, flanked by deities Saman and Bisobandara. The canopy has an image of the Buddha seated at the Bodhi tree and images of Arahants and floral and geometric designs. Apart from the above works of art, this cave is adorned with creations belonging to the early period of the modern history. A part of the cave is devoted to a shrine dedicated to God Vishnu, a main attraction to pilgrims to this cave temple. The moonstones and balustrades of the door of this cave belong to the Anuradhapura period. The second cave, Maharaja Viharya, is the largest cave in this monastic complex with 60 statues and 2 doors for entrance. The main statue is a standing Buddha with the right hand in Abhaya Mudra and protected by a dragon archway. It is flanked by statues of Bodhisattvas, Maitreya and Avalokitesvara, and 2 Buddha statues in a sitting posture, indicating the Mahayana influence on the Dambulla cave monastery. This standing Buddha statue has been painted during later renovations. Nevertheless, the style of the Buddha and of the Bodhisattva statues suggest that they belong to the 9th and 12th centuries. Beside this line of statues, there are 2 other statues of gods Vishnu and Saman that adorn the shrine. In addition to these, several other Buddha statues in various postures and mudras are found in this cave. Significantly, among them is the statue in an unusual cross-armed posture, similar to the Buddha statue that of the Galvihare in Polonnaruwa. According to Professor Semrat Paranavitarna, this is called Paradukka Dukkita Mudra. However, among the other opinions, it depicts Avadhana, Animisalochana or Swastika Mudra. There are 2 other statues considered to be those of King Valagamba and King Nisankamalla that can be seen here. Their crowns and mudras indicate them being statues of Bodhisattvas. A stupa painted in many colors and surrounded by 11 small statues in a standing posture is a special addition in this cave. The canopy of the Maharaja Lena depicts thousands of pictures of the Enlightened One and important incidents in his life as those connected to the Buddhist history of Sri Lanka. Among them are the temptation by Mara or demons and the first sermon preached by the Buddha. An image of a person with a gun pointed at the Buddha is an indication of his European influence brought in during the Kandyan era. The walls of the cave are adorned with illustrations of arhats, stupas and deities including Vibhishana and Ganesha. Among the events of Sri Lankan history depicted in the murals are the war between kings Dutugamunu and Ellara, the advent of Buddhism by Arahant Mahinda, and the planting of a sapling of the Sri Mahabodhi and the demarcation of the Mahavihara in Anuradhapura. The wall paintings of this cave belong to the Kandyan period. However, the murals of the Polonnaruwa period have been discovered in an area where the plaster has peeled off. Adjacent to the Maharaja Vihara and before the Paspilima Vihara is located Maha Alutlena, previously known as Endirige. King Kirti Sri Rajasingha had transformed this into a shrine with 57 statues of the Buddha placed in it. In the middle of this cave, under a dragon archway, there is a statue in a sitting posture, flanked by two other statues of a similar posture. One corner of the cave has a 10-meter long statue in a sleeping posture. The canopy in this cave is decorated with thousands of images of the Buddha, two bodhisattvas, arhats and deities. A painting of the divine pond, Anavatapta, is an illustration of the vast knowledge of landscaping that prevailed in the Kandyan era. A statue of King Kirti Sri Rajasingha is also found in this cave. The fourth cave, known as Paspilima Vihara, is smaller in size. Except for two statues in a standing posture, all others are that of the Buddha in a sitting posture. The main statue is located under a dragon archway. The small stupa found in the middle of this cave is called Somavati Stupa and believed to be one in which the jewelry of Queen Somavati are enshrined. After a raid by treasure hunters, around 200 small lime-coated statues of the Buddha were found within this stupa. And this cave also had wall paintings depicting various stages of the life of the Enlightened One as well as those of Arhats. The fifth and final cave in the Dambulla complex is named Devana Alutvihara. Eleven statues of the Buddha are found here, with a statue in a sleeping posture as well. The wall paintings of this cave include images of the Buddha delivering a sermon, deities Vishnu, Katragama and a king, arahats, lotus designs, as well as an image of the Korale, the Halapola Udavalawa in Tolambugolla, who had carried out the renovations of this vihara in 1915. The most significant creation in this temple complex is the Somavati Stupa, built upon a four-sided compound. The terrace of this medium-sized stupa is partly covered by granite and the rest by a brick paving. The terrace also has a flat stone engraved with the foot of the Buddha, stone seats and ruins of the Yupa pillar. Excavations carried out on the terrace of the stupa have uncovered several bricks with Brahmi characters, clay statuettes of dwarfs, and statues considered to be those of bodhisattvas. All of these have post-Gupta designs believed to have been done during the periods between the 6th and 7th and 9th and 10th centuries. The doors to the terrace of the stupa have parapets made of brick instead of the usual balustrades, and a four-sided stone slab in place of a moonstone. The circular-shaped Bodhigare is found to the northwest of the stupa. The construction with stone pillars located close to it is the Pohayagare, or the abode where the Buddhist monks performed religious rites of order. Its moonstones and balustrades belong to the period between the 5th and 7th centuries. With such a historical background that spans 22 centuries, from the Anuradhapura to the Kandyan period, the Dambulla cave monastery, even today, is revered as a place of worship and is much admired for its aesthetic beauty by many thousands.